All right, so we're back for another deep dive, and today we're going to be talking about AI. Well, AI-powered app development.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty futuristic.
yeah, well, I mean, it is the future, but it's also like kind of now.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing that really like sparked this deep dive is this article we came across about this developer named Sarah.
Okay.
And Sarah was able to build this mobile app, and she did it without
What?
writing any code.
No code at all.
No code.
That's pretty amazing.
I know, right?
So how does
And she did it all using this platform called, have you heard of this? It's called Bolt.new.
Bolt.new? I have not heard of that one.
Yeah, it's I mean it's pretty new, but it's this platform where you can, it's essentially like, I was just thinking about it, just blows my mind, but you give it instructions and it builds the app for you.
So it's like you're talking to the computer and saying like, build me an app that does X, Y, and Z.
That's exactly it. So, and I was reading through this article about Sarah, and she built this water tracking app, which I think is something, is a great idea, like something that's really useful.
Yeah, definitely.
And she did it without any code. So I'm like, how does this even work?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? So, I mean, I did a little digging after you sent me this article just to kind of get a little bit more familiar with how this works. And essentially, Bolt.new uses AI that is trained on, huge, I mean, massive amounts of code and data.
Right.
So it's able to look at your instructions, your prompts, and figure out how to turn that into the code.
Got it.
That actually makes the app function.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not just like writing like basic code. It's also handling all those little things that drive developers crazy, like dependencies, which are like little pieces of code that you need to make certain functions work.
Yeah.
And it even knows the differences between like if you're building an app for iOS or Android and how those need to be adjusted.
So it's basically like having a coder and like a project manager all
exactly
like in one of, that's wild.
It's pretty wild stuff.
Yeah. So in the article, there's this bit about Sarah, and she wanted to add this progress visualization widget.
Okay.
Like to kind of show you how you're doing with your water intake goals. And she's able to do this with just one prompt, like one line of instruction to Bolt.new.
Wow.
Which I was thinking about it, I'm like, if you were going to do that the traditional way, like if you were going to code that yourself, that would take, I mean, how long? That would take forever, right?
Yeah, you're talking about days, maybe even weeks of work, depending on, the complexity.
And the testing and the debugging and all that.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it's really incredible that she can just tell the AI, hey, I want this.
Yeah, and it just appears fully functional.
It's crazy. And it's not just like, slapping it in there. It's like,
Lord.
Yeah. It's choosing like the right libraries.
Right.
Like a Bolt.net Expo's animation libraries to give it that like, smooth animation.
Yeah. That's really smart.
Yeah, it's like it knew what it was supposed to use. It's like almost like
it understands what she's trying to accomplish.
Like it understands, like it's sentient or something.
I know. It is kind of creepy.
It is. It's like the AI is thinking for itself.
Yeah, it's not just taking orders. It's kind of like figuring out the best way to do it.
Right.
Which is a huge step. Like for AI to be able to do that is a really big deal.
That's pretty remarkable. And, speaking of the AI being smart, the article mentioned how Sarah ran into a bug.
Oh, no.
Yeah, specifically with like the notification sounds on iOS.
Okay.
And the AI, get this, the AI not only found the problem.
Wow.
But it also fixed it.
It debugged itself.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
I mean, how does it even, how does it do that? How does it know what to look for?
Well, it all comes back to that context thing we were talking about.
Okay.
So the AI knows that Sarah's building an iOS app.
Right.
So it's able to tap into all this information it has about iOS, its quirks, its common issues.
Yeah.
And use that to figure out, okay, this is probably what's going wrong.
Right.
And then on top of that, it knows how to write the code to fix it.
Within the iOS environment, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like having a specialized iOS developer.
Right there in the AI.
Just ready to help you out, which is really cool, especially if you're a developer who's maybe not as familiar with iOS.
Right, or maybe you're working on a project that's outside
your comfort zone.
Your comfort zone, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this feels like a total game changer, especially if you think about like new developers.
Absolutely.
Or like people who aren't programmers at all, but they have this amazing app idea.
Totally.
This makes it so much easier for them to get started.
Right, because the biggest barrier to entry for app development has always been learning to code. It's a pretty steep learning curve.
It is. Yeah, it's not something you just pick up overnight.
No.
But with Bolt.new, it seems like you don't need
that upfront investment of time and energy.
Right.
To learn how to code, you can just start building.
So like instead of spending months like learning how to code or hiring some expensive developer,
Yeah.
you just jump right in and start.
Tell the AI what you want, and boom, you've got an app.
Yeah. And I mean, it does raise some questions about like what happens to traditional coding,
Yeah.
The article mentioned some developers are a little worried about this.
It's understandable, right?
Yeah.
Because if anyone can build an app without writing any code,
Yeah.
does that mean that, the craft of coding is going to disappear?
And I think about like Sarah's mentee who was mentioned in the article. Like this person is learning to code now
Mm.
in this like new world where AI is like this powerful tool.
Yeah.
And it makes me think like, are the skills that you need to be successful as a developer, are those changing?
Oh, absolutely. I think the emphasis might shift from knowing how to write every single line of code
Right.
to understanding how to work with AI.
Okay.
Like how to be a good partner to the AI, how to give it the right instructions, how to, maybe even train it to be better at understanding your specific needs.
So it's not about replacing developers. It's more about giving them this new set of tools.
Exactly. It's augmenting their capabilities.
Right. And who knows what kind of amazing apps we're going to see because of this. Yeah.
I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Yeah. Like if anyone with a good idea and, the ability to explain it can make an app,
Yeah.
that's huge.
It's almost like the democratization of development, right?
Yeah. Like anyone can be a developer now.
So I gotta ask, if you could build any app using this technology, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think about that. That's something for all our listeners to ponder too. What app would you create? We'll be back next week for another deep dive. See you then.
See you, bye.
Bye.